This is a hockey card. At first glance, it looks completely normal, but this part right here, it's a piece you're supposed to remove and build into the card. They called these mini bobblehead cards. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going back in time for another episode of Cards from the Past. Today, we're looking at the 1998-99 Upper Deck Choice Mini Bobblehead subset. So while this is the bobblehead subset, it's obviously not a real bobblehead. There's no spring, no movement, just a paper, die-cut design that turns a flat card into something interactive. And somehow, they came out of a pack just like any other card. To understand why something like these cards existed, you have to go back to the late 90s. This was one of the most experimental periods in the hobby. Companies like Upper Deck weren't just competing on players anymore, they were competing on ideas. Collectors had already seen holograms, foil cards, and die-cut designs. So the question became, what can we make that feels different? And that mindset led to what collectors often refer to as the Gimmick era. Not every idea stuck, but a lot of them were memorable. That's where these come in, the 1998-99 Upper Deck Choice Mini Bobblehead subset. This was a special subset within the Upper Deck Choice product. It featured multiple players all using the same pop-out design concept. At a glance, it looks like a standard card, but the player's head is die-cut into the card itself. You pop it out, just like that, and insert it into the slot built in the card. On the back, it provides a complete set of instructions of how to fully assemble the card, which we'll do right now. Now that we've popped out the head, we have to pop out the rest of the bobblehead, which is the body here. So now we're left with the body of the player. Now based on the back, we have our head for step 1 and the cutout for step 2. And then we push the tabs here. It was a bit trickier than I thought it would be. So now that we have our background all set up there, it's a bit scuffed. But you see there, we have our little cutout now of the card. We have the head flap right here. And now you can see there, we have, with the head flap attached, we have the Messier bobblehead card. Just like that. You see, it doesn't really move. You try and shake it, it falls off. That's why you can see it just slips in, just like that, to make the bobblehead. So before you ever touch the card, it looks like this. Fresh out of the pack, a flat 2D card. But then, once you assemble it, it looks like this. A 3D looking bobblehead card. But once you assemble it, it changes how the card looks entirely. It resembles a bobblehead, even though it doesn't actually move. It's a simple idea, but really effective one. At the time, there was a lot of cards competing for attention. Most relied purely on design. This one added interaction. Not in a complicated way, just enough to make you pause. And that small difference is what made it stand out, because instead of flipping past it, you actually had to engage with it. What makes this even more interesting is that this idea shows up in other forms of the hobby too. For example, in sets like Allen Ginter, they have rip cards. Cards that are designed to be torn, with something hidden inside. And once you open them, there's no going back. We've also seen similar concepts in products like Zenith Dare to Tear. Same general idea. You're given a choice. Do you keep it intact? Or do you open it? Or in this case, assemble it. This card fits into that same category. Not because of what's inside, but because it asks something from the collector. It turns collecting into a small decision. But unlike tear cards, this isn't about what's hidden, it's about transformation. You're taking something flat and turning it into something with depth. That's a completely different type of interaction, less about risk and more about experience. Once it's assembled, this feels completely different than a normal card. It sticks out, it feels more fragile. And when I mean fragile, I mean really fragile. This thing is flimsy. You know, the head's barely hanging on there. You tap it enough and it will fall off potentially, but it does, get a little bit of bobble there, but it's very fragile and it naturally changes how you handle it. It becomes less of something you keep in a stack or put in a pile with the rest of your cards or in a binder, and more of something you keep separate on a desk or a display. And that difference might be part of why ideas like this didn't continue long term. Once you pop it out, that's the final form of the card. There's also durability concerns and the added production complexity. So while it's creative, it's not the easiest concept to scale. These weren't cards that were designed to be high value, but it's something that stands out. And sometimes, that's more important, because collecting isn't just about chasing the biggest hits. It's about finding things that feel different. What's interesting is how close this feels to something you could make yourself. It has that almost handmade quality, like something maybe you'd make back in school for a class project, even though it came from a major product. And that's not something you see very often in trading cards. At the end of the day, this wasn't really a bobblehead, but it was an attempt to turn a flat card into something more. And even if it didn't last, it's still one of the more creative ideas the hobby has tried. What do you think of these? Are they actually cool or just a gimmick? And what's the weirdest card you've ever seen? If you have any suggestions for any future videos, be sure to leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe as we're on our way to 100 subscribers. But until next time, I hope you all stay happy and healthy. Goodbye.